Japanese knotweed is a tall, robust, semi-woody perennial that forms dense stands and can grow to be as tall as 15 feet high. As you can see this girl being swallowed by this invasive plant here. It's a very common invasive in the Lower Hudson PRISM region and very highly aggressive and outcompetes a lot of our native plants that we want to protect. It exhibits very quick growth on these thick reddish-brown single stems that are almost zigzag in appearance. If you look down at this picture here, you'll see what I mean by that zigzag appearance. These stems are bamboo-like and sometimes even referred to as Japanese bamboo. It gets its genus name or Polygonum by poly meaning many and goni meaning knee joint. And you can see at these different nodes where it zigzags, it almost looks like little knee joints there. In terms of its history of introduction, it's native to Japan, also North China, Taiwan, and Korea. It's actually in its native home range is one of the first plants to colonize volcanic areas and is a dominant pioneer in primary succession of volcanic slopes and also a primary colonizer in secondary succession areas as well. It was introduced to the UK from Japan in around 1825. And interestingly, in the UK, it is believed that only female plants are found, meaning that each is a total clone of each, they're all clones of one another. And they're available by pollination by related species, but really in the UK and here, mostly in the US as well, that it's mostly female plants introduced by a single clone. It was introduced to the US by the late 19th century as an ornamental on estates, and by the late 1930s, it was certainly being recognized as a problem pest. It's mostly spread through cuttings or pieces of rhizomes from garden discards or through waterways. And I will point this out later in the talk or this introduction that as to what rhizomes are and how it reproduces. It is now from those initial introductions extant or found present in at least 43 different states. In terms of its ecology, habitat, and impacts, it's usually found in riparian areas or areas like streams, riverbanks, or floodplains, but also found along roadsides or disturbed areas where soils have been moved around a lot or transported either by humans or water. It was originally used as an ornamental along pathways and to create hedges because of its dense growth. You can see it here growing along a roadway, but it's also found really prevalently around streams because its rhizomes exist and can be transported in water. It's really highly aggressive, meaning that it's capable of creating these dense stands that limit light levels available to other species, stealing nutrients. It's most productive and competitive in high light level areas and less dense under deep forest canopies. However, especially when it's near waterways, it can compromise the stability of fragile soils, making these areas more prone to or at risk of erosion. It's ironic because originally it was thought to be useful in erosion control, when growing in these dense stands can really destabilize the soil. It can reduce biodiversity because it forces out native plants through shade and thick ground cover and decrease the quality of habitat for wildlife. It can also cause severe damage to man-made structures when it's coming up through the ground, and it can even grow through concrete and roadways. It is a very, very hardy species. In terms of its reasons for invasion success, certainly it exhibits extremely rapid growth. And most of the way that it's reproducing are through these things called rhizomes or stem fragments that can be transported either through water or humans, and that's its primary means of reproduction. Just to define what a rhizome is, it's a continuously growing underground stem which puts out lateral shoots. You can see it in this picture here. These are the rhizomes growing laterally. And what ends up happening is that through at certain nodes, it will also start to grow up vertically and create almost these pinkish buds, which can yield new growth. And during that new growth time, it almost looks like a little asparagus popping through the ground. Underground, though, these rhizomes almost have an appearance of ginger. They look like carrots, and you can almost like snap like carrots. In terms of, it's certainly persistent. It can tolerate most types of soil, light, and drought condition. And what's making it an even more formidable competitor in these new areas in the United States is that it's now starting to hybridize. So most of the knotweed in the U.S. is really from a single female clone, but Bohemian knotweed, which is a related species, actually produces pollen and seed. And now it is hybridizing with Japanese knotweed, and reproduction by seed is now increasing. Most of the seeds will fall near the plant, but the seeds are also dispersed by water, birds, and wind, and also can be transferred by humans through fishing. I should also point out that this rapid growth that you see in Japanese knotweed, a new plant can sprout from even a tiny piece of material within 6 days. A viable plant can exist from a rhizome that's less than 1 gram, especially if transported by water, and it can grow up to 6 feet tall in the first few months of the spring as a new plant. The rhizomes itself will survive and grow even if buried under 3 feet under the soil or even under pavement, as I mentioned before. So lots of reasons for its invasion success. This is a very persistent, very difficult species to get rid of, and is doing like a ton of damage to our biodiversity and outcompeting a lot of the native species that we're trying to protect. In terms of its key ID features, probably the most significant are its leaf shape. So you see these really large leaves that it has, this lush green color to it. It's got especially when they're fully grown out, you'll see almost like a flat base to it with a pointed tip, almost like a shovel shape to us, or shield. Many people consider it to be like shield shaped leaves or a shovel shaped leaf. Also be looking for the zigzag stems and the zigzag pattern to it. Of course, these bamboo-like stems as well. Oftentimes they will come in various colors, but oftentimes these are purple or speckled stems, and just be looking at these regular nodes, almost like the bamboo nodes as well. And these flowers that you see here that are used for in pollination by many insect species, you'll see these small white flowers with almost like a green tinge to them that are held on erect spikes. And these flowers emerge in August to September, but it's really this leaf shape and this bamboo stems to them that are some dead giveaways as to what Japanese knotweed looks like and what you should be looking for. If you do want some more field identification tips and look at some of the variations you might see in nature, definitely tune into our field identification video, and I hope to talk to you and learn and to teach you a little bit more about Japanese knotweed.